Hey guys, and welcome back to the Atlas podcast. Today I am here with Ariana Brothers. This is the first time I do a Zoom podcast. Usually it's in person, but we're not able to do that right now. So we have about 17 questions here, and I feel like some of them might be answered as we go along through other questions. We're going to start with the first one, and then we're going to go from there. So I'll let you answer first, and then I'll put in my 2 cents. First question was, can we meet at the Olympia? I want to take a picture together.
Absolutely. There's a meet and greet too, and I will be there. Stop me whenever. I'll be around.
When are you arriving in Vegas? Sorry.
So I think we're arriving on October 6th and we'll be
Is that
leaving
Tuesday?
the that Sunday. So get there Sunday and then we'll leave the 15th, which I think is that next Wednesday.
Why that long?
Because after every show, we've always just left immediately and it feels rushed. This will give us more time. Both of our moms are coming. So it'll give us more time to hang out and not feel so rushed to get on a plane, leave, and come back home. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I wanted to do something like in the desert, like ATVs in the desert or something on Tuesday, but then I have a couple girls in Amateur Olympia, so I'm like, well, they ruined my fun.
You'll have to do it. How long are you staying? You said you're staying
I'm doing
until
Sunday till Sunday. I had
okay,
the Canadian Nationals in Toronto the week before. Instead of flying back from Montreal, I'm just going to fly to Vegas from Sunday. So I'll be there for a
probably
week.
smart. You'll have to rebook. Do that
Yeah,
next.
Vegas is more than the strip. I went last year for a show, but then I also went around. There's these nice ghost towns, the desert, and some really cool areas. I definitely want to go there one time and just do not strip things.
Yes. But it'll be my first time in Vegas. So I'm very
Really?
excited.
Yeah. That's true. It's your second Olympia, right?
Yeah. Second.
Yeah. Vegas, though, after 3 days, you're kind of over it. If you're
I've heard that.
doing like a club thing,
Yes.
then yeah. But if you're with your moms, you guys could do a little day on the strip. There's Red Rock Canyon or something. There's a whole bunch of cool things you can do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I think it'll be fun. At least we can look forward to things not closing. Because here by me,
Yeah.
things close at like 8 p.m., even CVS's and stuff. So it's nice to
It's
have
like
something that's
Pittsburgh.
like, oh,
When everything closes at 9, you're like, what's going on?
yeah. I'm like, what if I ran out of something that I have to cook for tomorrow? Then what?
Let's get into this. The question was, can you break down the details of what changed from Paul to James's approach? So I'll let you start and then I'll go into a little bit on my end.
So literally everything. I've gotten this question a lot, especially DMs. When I tell you, I mean everything. I feel like the second that I started working with James, I was already in shock at the amount of attention to detail that I was already getting, more so within the first couple of days than I feel like I had gotten for like a while with my previous coach. The amount of detail you put into just your plans, what you're eating, your posing. I mean, it's very meticulous, but in this sport, especially with bikini, you have to pay attention to these details because these details are going to set you apart. Another thing is having more of a structured plan. I feel like I lacked a very structured plan before. For a certain amount of time, macros are good to learn, but after a while, you need to be more structured as far as what's digesting well, what do I need to stick with, how many meals am I consuming each day? Those things matter, especially when it comes to digestion. I feel like I was getting to the point where I was eating a lot less food, so a lot less meals. My cardio was extremely high. I didn't feel my best. I was losing muscle. And I feel like as soon as I shifted to you, everything kind of blossomed in the other direction and you knew what to do right away. And that's what I appreciated. I like the fact that you have a plan regardless. I don't sit there and question anything that you tell me. If you tell me this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. I like that matter of factness. For example, if you tell me we're increasing cardio or we're going to go ahead and reduce food or this or that, I'm not going to sit there and ask you why or what is it that you're seeing that is making you do these changes. I'm just going to listen because I appreciate that. As an athlete, you tend to question a coach if you don't fully trust them, but I don't have that with you at all.
Or the lack of trust with your previous coach?
Towards the end, I did. At first, I didn't. Towards the end, I did. And I think it was because of my regression from last year. I felt like there was no sense of a concrete plan of how we're going to deliver this feedback that the judges are asking of us. I felt like we were just kind of doing like, we'll see how it plans out, or we'll see how you look, and stuff. And I don't have the time, the effort, the energy to just gamble. So it's just a big difference in general when it comes to that. I was getting to the point where I was questioning, like, am I doing the right decision? I was asking my husband, am I making the right decision? Do you think I should be doing this? And he doesn't want to be dragged into it. That's not what he's there for. So I trust your opinion 100%. And I know that you bring consistency and results. It shows. And that's what I feel like I have been lacking. So, just to name a few things, that's what is a big difference so far.
Yeah, we can go into a little bit of detail with that, but I think it's very important for a client to trust their coach and vice versa. You were saying that before you were kind of told or kind of in the environment where it's like, we'll see, right? And a lot of people don't know this, but your plan A is to be the best in the world in the bikini division. Your husband's plan A is to support you to get to that point. So your whole life is, this is what I'm going to do. I need to be the best. If you're investing all your time, your energy, your money, your health into this, and you're kind of like, well, we'll see, that's not really a motivating scenario to be in. We've been in communication here for the last year and a half because I just thought you were such a nice person. I've seen you at shows too. You had the biggest drop in bikini history ever, from 7th at the Olympia to 11th at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a much easier show than the Olympia, is a huge regression. And I felt so bad for you at that show, being at the top and then coming down that low is terrible. The highs are high, but the lows are much lower. I was talking to Issa. She was so happy when she won the Olympia, but that drop back down surpasses the highs. Even in a gambling scenario, let's say you win 100 grand, you're happy, you lose 100 grand, you're much more sad by the loss than you were by the win. So yeah, that big drop was tough, especially if that's your plan A and you don't have a plan B. It's not a fun situation to be in. I spoke to you at Pittsburgh and you were really disappointed, but you're always positive. We spoke and you were like, listen, I like the way you do things. And I've seen, on you produce results. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to give my coach another chance and see what we do. I respect that because you did well together and you came to top of Olympia and it was one major fuck up that brought you back down. But it was the first time where it was a really big fuck up. So I understand where you're like, I respected that. You're like, listen, this is really bad, but it's a one-time situation. So let's see what we can do, right? Then you did the Tampa Pro. You should have been up Issa's ass to that show. There should have been no one even close to you. It should have been you and Issa and everyone else behind you guys, because there was a big gap as far as placings at the Olympia with you two and then the rest. When you came on stage, I couldn't believe it when I saw. I talked to you after the show and I was like, Ari, you literally looked like you wouldn't have turned pro at a pro qualifier. You look like an amateur competitor. And it was devastating. I could not understand how that happened. I understood afterwards why that happened, but I could not understand how that regression was unbelievable. I could not believe it, and then we spoke a little bit and you were kind of telling me what was going on and the approach that was used in your preps. And then all kind of made sense. As far as how you got to that point, not why you got to that point, right? It still didn't make any sense to me why that even happened. And we're definitely get into that. But yeah, as far as you have such a tight personality and you like to be told what to do, as long as it makes sense, right? You've always told me and you felt that I have trust in myself. And I think that's really important. If you're around someone that trusts themselves, then you're going to have a lot more trust in them. But if you have someone that's doubting themselves and they're always like, I'm not sure, we'll see, using those type of terms, it's not going to put you in an environment where you're going to trust that person enough. And it's always like, well, they said this, so maybe we'll try this. There's no like, do this, it's going to work. Kind of like how I speak to you. The second I say, I don't think I've been in question of what we're doing or what I need to do to get you to where we are. I already know what we got to do. When I spoke to you after the Tampa show, we talked for 2 hours in the hotel room. You could sense my confidence that I know exactly what to do to fix this. And we proved that together. So I coach bikini athletes all day, every day, like 14, 16 hours a day for the last 9 years. If I'm not good at what I'm doing, something's wrong. I spend all my days doing this one thing. I better be good. I have the confidence in my ability to produce results and work with every athlete individually and cater to them with their individual needs. And with you, I was kind of worried because I thought that you had lost a lot of muscle mass, which you did. And I was kind of sad for you that we didn't start right after Pittsburgh, but I also understood why. I told you, I wish we started right after Pittsburgh because we would have had an extra 12 weeks or something. And it would have been no question you would have been at the Olympia, like top three. But it is what it is. And we had to move forward. I respected you for, you know what, I'm going to stay with my coach after the Pittsburgh, even if we fuck up really bad and see what happens. And then I'm sure in hindsight, you wish you can go back and change it. But listen, it is what it is. And you're such a loyal and a nice person. And I respect that about you. So I didn't really fault you for doing that. I completely understood, It wasn't like you did 5 shows in a row and you fucked up and it was like, okay, I'm still gonna stay. But the Tampa one was a big hit to you. The Olympia's coming up and you're like, I just look like an amateur competitor and the Olympia's in like what, 8 weeks or something or 9 weeks. That's a tough situation to be in because it's like, well, is my career over? Am I gonna place? You would have
Yep.
that physique at Tampa would have been lost call to Olympia. Which is
And that was hard. I was like, this isn't what I want going into the Olympia. This is a big deal for me. I'm taking this very seriously. I just felt like I needed somebody else to take it seriously with me. I felt like I was viewing myself one way, but I wasn't getting an honest answer of how I really did look. I'm putting my trust in you and I want to make sure I show up 100%.
and if you
I
don't, then at least say what it is.
Exactly. And I'm okay with that. If I have to wait longer, that's fine. I just want to make sure I'm doing everything as I should. I can't show up unprepared and not giving what I should be giving and in my potential.
Best. You're kinda like, well, here's
Yeah.
the package. Hopefully it's good. We'll see.
Yeah. Like
And yeah,
nobody has the energy and time to do that, like have to be sure, put a lot of time and effort and it's hard work. So you just want to make sure, especially going into the Olympia, you do everything you can to be better than you were last year, especially if you went last year. That's always been my goal. When I wasn't doing that, I was like, I need a change. Nothing personal, but I need a change as far as my career with bodybuilding.
set up correctly. One thing we spoke about was after the show, your coach posted back into the top 5. I didn't tell you about that. He just made an exciting post. I told you if I was coaching you and you came to place at that show when you were just 7th place at Olympia, that is a complete fail. We agreed that the bar he had for you was way too low than what your potential should be, right? If his bar for you is he's happy with a top 5 place in the Tampa Pro, looking like an amateur athlete, how are you going to achieve your goals and win the Olympia? It doesn't make any sense. You guys have to be aligned mentally, right? You need to have the same goals. My coach wants me to win the Olympia. I want to win the Olympia. This is what we're working for. Not that you're happy with placing top 5. That was really a blow too, where it's like, yeah, we're not aligned with the same goal. You were his top athlete. So you would think that you put a lot of effort into that person, make sure that they're correct, which didn't make any sense to me was when you've done as many shows with a coach, you have a lot of data to go back on, right? So you're like, how many shows have you done with him before?
Last year, it was like 6 or 7.
Total shows ever?
For pro shows when I started back.
Oh, total.
Oh, total, maybe like 9, 10, 11.
How many shows have you done with Issa? 4, 5 in the Olympia? I think nothing. And, even with you, I did 1 show and I was able to bring you from your worst to your best in 5 weeks. If we have 10, 11 shows, the athlete's body. Like, like, for example, like with Adam with Ashley, you think he has to guess really anymore? Like, you know how the body works. You understand how the body is going to react in certain situations. You have a lot of data to, feed off of. So
Yep.
to not utilize that and come in with a completely different package that is subpar, to say the least, it's just
Mhm.
weird. Last year, you weighed about 127 to 128 pounds on stage, right?
It was towards the end of the year. That's where I finished my
The
season.
Olympia. My favorite physique you've had in the past was the Atlantic Coast. I was at that show. I think.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I was like 128 there.
so you're around 128 pounds, right? And then what was confusing was that you showed up at Tampa at 121 pounds. That was a 7-pound difference. When you were at 128, you didn't have implants. So you had the implants afterwards. So it's about 2-pound difference. So realistically, there was a 9-pound difference in body weight, implants not included. So you're basically 128 at your best at Atlantic, and then you come into Tampa at 119. What I understood from that scenario was that the coach didn't understand how to take feedback correctly. He didn't understand how to get you to the point where you were able to achieve the feedback without ruining your physique. You did good last year. You did the Olympia, you did the Atlantic Coast, and you looked good. Then you came into Tampa, right? Then you came into the Pittsburgh show. You were about 130 pounds in peak week. And then on show day, you went up to 132. And then you were obviously soft at Pittsburgh. It wasn't like crazy soft, but you were soft. So your feedback was, hey, get more condition, right? Was that all you were told? Basically,
Conditioning. Yep. Hmm.
conditioning. A judge's feedback is a tool, but you should already know what to do. It's very rare where I go to a judge. I usually only have 2 or 3 judges in the world because those are the top Olympia judges. And I'm like, hey, what do we need to work on? Any top coach should have more experience than even Sandy at Olympia because you have more bikini shows than her every single weekend. You should have the eye. You should be able to see what the judges are looking for because Sandy's maybe judging every 2, 3, or 4 weekends, depending on the season. But I'm at shows every weekend. Jamie's at shows every weekend. You're seeing the criteria over and over. So we have more experience than the Olympian judges. So like, go to the Olympia or these big shows, I'd be like, hey, what do you think? And they'll give me their feedback. And it's usually like, yeah, that's what I thought too. But it's very rare where you're like, okay, they said we need to be conditioned. I had no idea. Let's do this. What I understood from that was he told there to be more condition, which was obvious. So he tried to get you more condition. But the tools that you were given to get to that point made no sense. It was just a tunnel vision focus where it's like, we need to get leaner. We need to get leaner and just ignoring everything else. So it was, you were 132 at Pittsburgh and what the ideal goal should have been to be like, okay, that look was too soft. Let's go back and look at the data that we have and let's look how you looked at the Olympia. Let's look how you looked at Atlantic Coast where you did very well. Let's try to emulate that look because that's where we're good and maybe come in a little bit better. But deciding that you're going to drop 9 pounds from where you looked at the best makes absolutely no sense. And that just shows that it was just a tunnel vision where I'm looking at literally just your glute tie-ins and they need to be linear and everything else does not matter. What was done wasn't even a cheat because you literally still look soft at Tampa. You were 121, you weren't in your best condition ever. It was just muscle loss and depletion throughout your body. The problem was that you were being instructed to dig yourself a hole, which was just like drop the food, up the cardio, and let's just like gun it until the end and get you in condition. But the problem is if you're not utilizing the proper techniques, you're going to run yourself into the ground. Let's talk about PDs because people are interested in PDs. People thought you were natty before and you never said the word. When I looked at what you were doing before, it made perfect sense to me why you weren't able to achieve that goal of getting leaner in your tie-ins. It was confusing why those things weren't implemented by your coach. You were told to do X, Y, and Z, and you weren't really guided past that point. A lot of bikini athletes need some type of estrogen blocker to get their legs lean. Not all of them, but a lot of them need an estrogen blocker to get their legs lean. And the reason for that is a woman tends to hold more body fat in their tricep area, hamstrings, or the glutes because of their estrogen. There's no real physiological advantage to having shredded hamstrings for women outside of bodybuilding. So you need to push yourself into a zone where your estrogen is in a lower state so that your body starts losing fat equally. A lot of women need to incorporate those and you weren't incorporating those. You were taking a decent amount of PEDs, but not the correct ones. You were burning yourself to the ground and losing muscle mass and still not able to achieve your goal. A lot of that has to do with PD usage and not understanding how to use them, when to implement them, when to take them away. When I saw what you were taking, I was like, that's a decent amount of stuff, but I understand why you weren't able to achieve your goal because it didn't make sense. And then you're kind of in the dark where you're like, well, I don't know what to do because he doesn't want to tell me what to take. So then your husband, who's a bodybuilder, is like, let's experiment, let's do this. And it's a very stressful situation for him. He told me, he's like, I don't know how to coach the eating athlete, but she wasn't told what to do. She's told to take this, and then he doesn't want to discuss anything else. So like your coach don't want to discuss anything else. So it's a very stressful situation for your husband to be in where he's has to kind of give his opinion and see, well, maybe we're going to do this when he has never coached a bikini athlete in his life. Instead of someone with a decade of experience being like, take this, do this in the morning, do this at nighttime, and your body starts adapting and everything starts making sense. When I changed what you were taking, I told you what to do, and your body started filling up, right? We increased the food, which will go into that and, change your training, but your body started leaning out where it should, started filling up where it should, and everything made sense. PDs are part of everything in bodybuilding, right? If you don't have proper PDs, that's one thing. You don't have proper training, that's one thing. If you don't have proper diet, that's one thing. It's kind of everything is kind of all together. I'm not saying everyone needs to take antiestrogens, but in your scenario, that definitely hindered you a lot. You were just doing infinite cardio on no food, trying to achieve a goal you would have never achieved because your body's not able to get to that point. A lot of girls, they're natty and they're like, I want to get tie-ins. So you emaciate yourself by doing infinite cardio on low food, and you're never able to achieve that because your body doesn't want to lose fat in the area. So you would have been able to get your proper conditioning with probably double the food and 1/3 of the cardio, which we've been doing, right? With a little bit of estrogen blocker. And that would be a much healthier approach than doing 3 hours of cardio on 800 calories, right? If you're a woman and you're doing 3 hours of cardio on low fats and low calories, your hormones are going to be out of whack. It doesn't matter if you're natty. You can be fully natty. You're going to get fucked up. So there's a certain point where implementing PDs would likely be a healthier approach than putting an athlete on 3 hours of cardio on 800 calories and hoping that they're going to get tie-ins. When I saw that, I was like, well, that's something we need to change because the PD protocol makes no sense. And it was harming you rather than helping you, right? For the PDs that you were on, it made perfect sense why you were so depleted, small, flat, there, and not lean. So that's the first thing I told you, okay, we're going to fix this. On day one, what did I do? I told you your breasts are too big on stage and it's making you look less wide. I want width in the upper body. I want a nice hourglass shape, and your breasts are too big. So I contacted Los Angeles. I said, we need to fix this top. We fixed the top, and people noticed on Reddit that your breasts look more proportionate to your body at the show that we just did. It wasn't because we changed the size of your breast. We just changed the top. And that's something we changed on day one. Easy changes. Your makeup. I didn't like your makeup at Tampa. Your face was exactly the same at Tampa as it was the show that we just did, but we changed the lipstick. I said, I don't like the lipstick you use. Change the hair. Just little things like that. Put the whole package together and make you have the full it factor, which is super important. And these are points where you didn't really get information or guidance. When you're trying to win the Olympia, you're trying to be the best in the world at something. You can't be skipping small details. The 1% count. It's not something where you can be like, we'll skip that. What you learn from working with me is that I like to have control over every situation. That's why I don't do macro diets. That's why I make you send me training videos as well. If I know what the athlete is doing at all times, then I'm going to be able to put a lot more consistent output and success through all of my athletes because I have control over what's going on. If athletes are doing things behind your back, or you're kind of just let the athlete do whatever they want and you're not sure. So let's say I give you 100 grams of carbs and fats and whatever, and you're eating random things at different times a day. I'm not keeping track of which foods you're digesting properly, which foods are reacting better with your body. There's so many variables that you need to take into consideration. People ask, how do I have such consistent good results? It's because I have control over everything. That is how I know what the athlete is going to do and how they're going to look based on what I'm giving them. And then I'm able to change things accordingly. So if I'm telling an athlete to do something and then they're not doing something, how am I going to make an adjustment based on the unknown? If I know everything that's going on, I can adjust because I have a lot of data. I'm understanding the whole process. If an athlete's doing this and I told him to do this, it's all events. It's easier for the athlete and me if I got full control. I know everything that's going on. I know what PDs they're taking. I know how they train. I know everything. I have a lot more control, and then I'm able to get the output and the success that I have. It's not by accident. For example, how many documents did you get of information? I cover everything that you could think of from a bikini athlete. I covered it because I'm like, listen,
More.
yes, I have like 30 PDF files of how to do your hair, how to do your makeup, different styles, nails, like the suit. I help you choose a suit for every single athlete. There's an infinite amount, how to do your tan from point A to point B, how to exfoliate your skin, how to wash yourself, which creams to use if you have different skin issues, everything. To have control over everything, I give to the athlete because I want to get the best results and be the best in the world. If I'm lazy and I cut corners, I'm not going to get there. I love coaching the athletes. I love what I do and seeing my athletes do well. This Team Alice, everyone knows what it is in Team Alice, like, shit's going down.
Yeah.
I had a reputation, and that comes from putting in the work and not skipping corners. I try to cover every little micro detail of everything, and then you get the results and consistent results because there's no room for the unknown. I feel that's really important in a coaching aspect. I don't know if there's any other coach that goes into as much detail as me, and I would say probably not.
Not
I
that I've
don't, I don't know what kind of disorder I have, but it's health plan.
it helps and it works. So I appreciate that because I'm very type A about things. I notice the small details and I like to be better at everything that I can. We're not perfect. So help me be better. Want to.
You are the most ideal, easiest possible athlete a coach can ever have. You've never told me no for anything. You've never asked me a stupid question. You've never made me have to repeat myself, which is like the number one thing I can't stand in my life is slow people and people that make me repeat myself over and over again. And they don't take the time to process the information, write it down, and go from there. Why do you get to ask me the same question 17 times? It makes no sense. So I love that about you because you value my time and you value your time, right? Like
Mhm.
I can see that you're serious and what your goal is and that you really want to achieve that. You don't need a babysitter. I've had
Yeah.
top Olympians, I had girls where I have to babysit them and be like, oh, sorry, I forgot to drink half my water one day out. Like just,
Ugh.
you're doing absolutely everything in your power to be the best in the world. And
Mhm.
what that means is that you're following instruction, right? I have full trust in you and you have full trust in me. I know if I tell you to do something, it's going to be done. It's going to be done quickly and it's going to be done well. I'm not half-assing your training and cardio. On day one, I asked you to send me training videos. And you sent me training videos. I was like, Ariana, your form is great. Your intensity output is at 75%. This is not good enough for me. So I said, send it again, send it again. And then eventually you're like, I feel like I'm going to throw up when I'm training. I'm like, yes, now you're going to grow. Now you're going to go. And your husband messaged me. He's like, thank God you told her. Because if your husband's like, hey, you're not training hard, you're going to be like, fuck off.
It's different. It doesn't match your intensity, but hearing it from you, I'm like, wow, I guess I never had that before. I didn't know if I was training intensely enough or was I training heavy enough, like I didn't have that. So I didn't know what I was doing, if it was even correct until you told me. And I'm like, wow. So I feel like I've been missing out on,
A lot of time.
yeah.
What's crazy for me is you weren't really shown or told how to train. You're given a macro diet where you can choose your own food and you're not really told what PEDs to take. So what coaching is there? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Those are the three things. For example, I had a client join my team from one of these big teams, and she was with the same coach for 5 years.
Mhm.
And she looked like she never went to the gym before. And I was just like, I really want to turn pro. I haven't made much show me progress for 5 years ago till the day that she joined. She literally looked like she went to the gym for 2 weeks. I followed my diet perfectly. I do all my cardio, everything I'm told. So I said, all right, I'm going to try to figure this out. So day one, I said, asked her to send me training videos. She's doing lateral raises with 2.5 pounds, 10
Oh,
reps, not to failure at all, and just dropped the weight. You were with a coach for 5 years. You've made zero progress and they never checked your training before. How lazy is that? You're wasting the client's time. You're wasting their money.
yeah.
And you respect the client. It's like, you're not
Yeah.
trying to figure out what the problem is. And I checked her training. She's like, wow, I never trained this hard before. I never knew I had to train this hard before. I never knew I was this strong. And she's just started making, she made more progress in 1 month than she did in 5 years with the coach because of the training. If you're neglecting that aspect of your clients, you're a lazy coach and you don't care enough to do that. It's a lot of work to ask every single client, hey, send me training videos of the next glute day. Hey,
Yeah.
send me videos of the next shoulder day. Nope, not good. Resend. This exercise isn't good. I want you to do this instead. It's a lot of extra work, but that's how I make 20, 23 pro cards per year. That's how I'm winning. I've won like 8 pro shows in the last 10 weeks. That's the little things and the little differences that's going to make the big difference. If you're neglecting those parts of coaching, then you're not really coaching. It's everything together. You didn't train bad, but it wasn't where it should be, where you're going to be making lots more progress. And in your situation where you're putting your life into this, you want to be doing everything you can to achieve that goal as effectively and efficiently as possible. You're not 21 years old, you're 29 years old. You're not doing this till you're 45 years old trying to win the Olympia. It doesn't work that way. You want to make sure every day counts. You're so easy to coach because you just say yes. You're a robot. If you're told to do something, you're going to do it. But if you're not told to do something, you're just going to do what you're told. As a coach, I need to put the same effort you put in and make sure I get the most out of you. If I'm not asking you to do these things, and you're the athlete paying me to provide a service, then it doesn't make any sense. I need to go above and beyond to help you achieve your goal. I do this with first time competitors. Send me your training videos. Every single athlete who joins my team sends me training videos until I prove. Because if you don't have training, you have nothing. You can have a client that's perfectly on her diet, on every PD under the sun. If her training sucks, you're not going to get near the results that you would if her training was great. That's a big aspect where a lot of coaches miss out on. My advantage is that I cover everything. And that's why I get the results that I do. And that's where I'm able to shine. I don't want to leave anything off the table. If I feel like something I can do that's going to get me a little bit of an advantage as far as helping the athlete in a certain way, I'm going to do it. Like, so there was a few athletes that had like calluses on their glutes. I went to a dermatologist, paid them $2,000, and I figured out what the fuck this was. How do I resolve a situation? And then this is going to help instantly, but over the years, it's going to help more, and it's going to pay itself off because they're going pro a lot easier. So I make investments of time and money so that I'm able to get the most out of every single athlete. If you're lazy, you're not going to get great results.
You like continuously evolve to like, I was listening to one of your podcasts. I forget who you were talking with, but you were even talking about the tan and stuff. Like, if you have a girl that's really pale, well, they need to start preparing ahead of time. And I'm like, that's really
You would
smart.
never, and you're like a ghost.
Yeah, I know. That's really smart. It's those little things that will set you apart, moving forward. Even just hearing that, I'm like, okay, well, you can tell that he's still trying to figure out new things that will make his athletes better. I appreciate that. After seeing all the documents, I'm like, okay, yeah, we're so serious. I need the structure.
I'm a full sodium water duck and posting tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm excited
Love
for let's read it.
being organized, and I love beautiful documents.
Yes, me
Listen,
too.
coaching, running a kindergarten. You have all the little kids and you got to teach them stuff. The more organized I am and the more information I have that is in an organized fashion, the less work I'm going to have to do because they have the information. They can read it. My rule is if I have to repeat something more than once for more than one athlete, there needs to be some type of information so that I can reduce my workload. And that's how I'm able to take a lot of athletes on. I have an executive assistant, Claire, which helps me a lot answering simple questions. These never ending documents that, kind of cover everything. That saves me a lot of time. Instead of explaining things over and over again, I put them in a document, I put pictures, I make sure everything is organized so the athlete can see everything himself and learn. They don't have to repeat myself 700 times. When I make a document, it's because I have to repeat myself 700 times. So
yeah. But even that, like you've sent me plenty of pictures or videos or something, and I'm like, they help a lot. That's when I realized I'm posing. I'm like, oh my goodness, my shoulders, I didn't realize it. And all of a sudden it clicked. And I was like, okay, this is what it's supposed to feel like. And that's what it looks like.
That's a good point. People learn in different ways. Some people learn with visual cues. What I did was I had to repeat something 100 times. So I'm like, you know what, Victoria, the teacher on Team Alice, let's make a video for this. I made a video for it and I was sending it to the athletes that had the same issue. And then I'm like, you know what, let's make a video for this. And then I was like, you know what, let's make a fucking video for everything. So now we have, I think, 80 or 90 videos covering every single posing detail when the athlete has a specific issue, which is you, where you had your right shoulder lifted and then your glutes were tilted to the left and your back pose, which I'm sure was ever even told to before by a previous coach. It was kind of just, whatever. Then you're able to see the visual cues and then you're able to apply it. And now you never have this problem in your check-ins. Every single show you've ever done, first of all, you send me the pictures of them. This issue's in every single show. Your hips to the left, the right shoulder is up. You don't have the issue. If you go look at the Florida show we just did, your back hold's perfectly symmetrical because you fixed it. One show like that. You did 11 shows, didn't fix this issue. We do one show, we fix that. If your right shoulder is up and your glutes are twisted to the left and your right foot is slightly more angled outwards than your left foot, you're going to lack some symmetry. Sandy just had the seminar this past weekend in California, and she said the number one important thing is symmetry. So if you're all twisted, it doesn't look good. Not you're just doing what you're told to do, and you didn't know. If you're not told how to fix things and you're paying someone to coach you, what are you going to do? You're going to start doing your own research? Like, it would drive me nuts if one of my athletes went on YouTube and started learning posing. I'd rather just teach them exactly what they have to do. Then they follow through with it. They learn, they practice, and then we're on the same page. We always got to be on the same page. If you're kind of doing your own thing and you're not told what to do, then it's a disaster. When you want consistent results as a coach, you need to do different things for every athlete based on the athlete themselves. What I didn't like about the previous coach is he would always say blanket statements. Every athlete should have water on show day. every athlete should do this or they're going to be flat. That's why you don't make any pro cards, because you're doing the same general approach for everyone. And that doesn't work. Go talk to
Yeah.
Jamie, go talk to Cash, go talk to Adam. They get results because they're doing different things for every athlete. If you're always saying, nope, every athlete has to do this, you're not going to have consistent results because you don't have a customized approach. No one in the world makes as many bikini pro cards as me. I've to be the fourth year in a row that I make the most bikini pro cards. Every year is over 20 bikini pro cards, which is a lot.
Mm.
If you look at all my athletes' peak weeks and how much water you give them on a show day, it would be very different. Some athletes are eating totally different amounts of food, different types of food based on their digestion and the feedback that their body is giving me, drinking different amounts of water, different PDs, different dosages, different training splits. Every client has the same workout plan. Every client has the same cardio. Every client has the same diet. Everybody's different. So
Yeah.
why are you going to give everybody that has a different physique the same protocol and say the same general statements? That's not how it works. It's as if you're treating everyone like you're a car manufacturer. You make every car exactly the same. Step one, put the doors on. Step two, put the windshield on. That's not how it works. Everybody has a different body,
Yeah.
and you're going to need to do different things for everyone to get the best out of everyone. And that's where not being lazy comes in, right? That's how you're going to achieve consistent results. So if you want consistency as a coach, you got to be doing different things and you got to keep learning. The second you think that you know everything, that's when you start going on a decline. This happens in every industry. There's always young entrepreneurs that come up and they take over the people that are older in the industry. When you get older, you start getting a little bit comfortable. When you're comfortable, someone younger and smarter is going to come ahead of you because they're eager, they're excited and learning. Eventually, they're going to learn more than you and they're going to know more than you because you were comfortable. And you're like, I don't need to learn anymore. I know what I'm going to do. This is what every person should do. If they don't, they're a terrible coach. This is this evidence-based approach. And this is what the evidence says on the paper. And this is how it works. Well,
Yeah.
that's not how this works in coaching, unfortunately. If that's how you think it's going to work, you're going to have
Mhm.
an awakening for sure.
When you learn something, you take it and you run with it. I appreciate that because we all can continue to learn, especially with bodybuilding, whether you're a coach or an athlete, we can learn to be better. That's the whole point of this. That's how we progress through it all. Just being open to certain things and knowing that like everybody responds differently to food and water, especially show day or peak week. That's a big thing I've seen and heard from other girls too, like maybe not needing as much food or maybe not needing as much water and stuff. And I I like to hear those things because it makes me feel like I'm not, like, alone. I felt like I never needed that much food or water, and so
Mm.
it's nice to hear that because not everybody is the same. Some people need it, some people, they look great off of it, but not everybody. So different approaches is necessary.
Different approaches for consistent good results.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
I've had 5 or 6 top 5 Olympians. I've had pro show wins. I've had pro card win overall at these huge shows. Some athletes at all of those calibers have been fasted on show day with minimal water. Some are eating 4,000 calories on show day. Some are not on PDs. Some are on more PDs. You can't give a blanket statement. Like we know for you, right? The second you drink a little bit of water, your times get a little bit blurred. And every show day, you're drinking tons of water. So you
Yeah.
look like shit every time. So it's like, what I couldn't believe was when you sent me your pictures in peak week of every show. You look worse on show day versus how you looked in peak week.
Yeah.
Every peak was done incorrectly, which is, and then when you explained to me what the peaks were, it made no sense. So Pittsburgh, you were too soft. You sent me the
Mhm.
pictures in peak week of Pittsburgh and you were about 130 pounds. You were a little bit soft, but good enough to be in top 5. What happened on show day was we got to follow the science-based approach. And if you don't have water, you're going to be flat. So, hey, Ariana, drink 2 liters of water and go to Chipotle and have Chipotle that you haven't had all prep. And then you're bloated, right? You explain what exactly happened on show day at Pittsburgh. So you woke up to the 130, a little bit
Mhm.
soft, but not too soft. How did you peak for that show?
So I had my normal breakfast meal, which at the time was oats, almond butter, protein powder, and maybe some cashews and some water. I can't remember the amount, but I was supposed to have some water, then some little snacking. I think maybe I had a second meal between then and Chipotle rice. Apparently, the sodium and some fats and carbs will make you fill out a little bit
Oil.
better. Yeah, and I was like, "Okay, I'll try it." I was worried 'cause I just hope my body won't bloat from it. When I look back at my video and pictures, I could see my actual stomach was pretty expanded. I wonder if it just wasn't digesting because I had so much food and water in me. It just felt like a random thing. Like, let's just try it. It's
Yeah,
just
I
let's
just try it on show day and see what happens.
and I'm like, I don't want to look bad. I was a little worried, but I was like, it's fine. We'll be okay.
All advice, right?
Yeah, exactly. So let's just see. And again, like you said, the second I started to drink water, I always noticed I just would never look the same.
You never had
Yeah.
clients at any show you've ever done.
Yeah.
I showed you guys how she looked in the Olympia and Atlanta Pro. Every other top coach thought you just couldn't get lean in your legs. You literally
Mhm.
achieved that conditioning, but
Yeah.
your physique was much worse on show day based on the science-based approach peak. And
Yeah.
I've done one show with you, and I can look at your body and tell you your skin is thick. You have a thicker skin. Your
Yeah.
fats and water are going to make you look watery very quickly. So what you just told me was that on show day you ate almond butter, you ate nuts, you ate chipotle rice with oil, and you're drinking water. All of
Mhm.
those things are going to make you soft.
Mhm.
So coming to show, you're already a little bit soft, right? So if I was your coach at that time, we're like, listen, I don't typically bring athletes in soft. Let's just say something happened and you're soft on show day.
Mhm.
Well, you're obviously full. You didn't lose any muscle at that point. So you're full. What are we going to do? Let's try to bring her in a little bit tighter and keep as much fullness as we can without sacrificing conditioning. So at that point, there was already a mistake made and you were at the show not lean enough. What do? Try to get a little bit leaner or push you past the point where you're way too soft to keep fullness. It doesn't make any sense. And that's a huge mistake. Mistake number two, which you learn in year one of coaching, you don't give athletes food that they haven't eaten before in prep in your peak week. Like if you have to give an athlete a hamburger, there is a major mistake that you made going up to the show. And that is either they dropped weight, let's say 7 or 8 pounds when they were flying because they didn't drink enough water or something bad happened. You're rolling the dice if you're giving an athlete random foods on show day because you don't know how they're going to digest. You don't only guess. And if you're smart as a coach, you tried this before. I'm not saying trial peak, but try different foods. Let's say for you, we did almond butter and rice cakes. I was learning your body and asking you which foods are you digesting well? Which foods do you feel better on? Which foods are sitting in your stomach? Asking me these questions so that when show day comes, I know what foods you're going to be able to digest, keep your stomach flat. Go look at your stomach at the Florida show, the smallest weight you've ever had on stage, and you were
Yes.
flat. You were full, and your stomach was tiny. You had to eat a waste. Your stomach at every other show was bloated as hell. Eat every other show you were at, and you told me that too. You're like, I don't know why my waist is always bloated. Once I saw what you were doing, it made perfect sense. And we were able to achieve both with just altering things and simply doing my job by asking you what works.
Like with you, immediately I was like, okay, he already knows what to do with me. This is what I felt like I needed. I had thought about and I would talk to JD about it. I just feel like my skin is thicker. I can see it all over me. I don't have that graininess that I would see some other women have. I'm like, I don't know how to fix that, but you noticed it. And what you were saying, like obviously eating fats and stuff would make it worse. I didn't know that.
That's not your
Right.
job to know that. It's the coach's job to have this knowledge. You're paying a coach for their knowledge.
Right.
So you don't have to think. You should never have to think, what do I do? My job as a coach or any coach is to tell you, hey, do this because it's going to work. And if the athlete is guessing and has to think, you're not coaching enough. You should be able to turn your brain off and you just do. You say,
Yeah.
this is the coach, this is what he tells you. Every gamble you take, that's a gamble on your entire life plan. You did all this cardio, you're taking PEDS, you want to win the Olympia, your husband's trying to support you with all of his money and like putting this all into investing like your life plan. It's like, well, let's just see what happens. You can't do those things. It's not fair to the athlete. As I said before, I like to have control over every situation and that allows me to have consistent outputs. I don't like to take gambles. And that's why I get athletes early, get them ready 2 weeks in advance, and then I'll slowly reverse them to the show. And the goal for bikini athlete, at least for me, is I make them look show ready every morning. We kind of maintain, show day, maintain. Just don't drop your carbs, increase your water, do this, do that. That's a gamble. And that's not what you want to do because you're not going to have consistent results. You want to have control. Control equals consistency. If you're throwing the dice and hoping for the best, you're going to get some home runs here and there, which is what happened, right? Great. You came 7th at Olympia. But with that approach and not having control, look what happened. You're 11th at Pittsburgh, 5th at Tampa, your body's looking worse because there's no control. If you're gambling, yes, if you're at the blackjack table, you're going to hit some 21s. But eventually, you're going to lose a couple of hands. The problem is when you're gambling on someone's life, livelihood, career, potential sponsors, when prize money, you need to be considerate when you're coaching an athlete, especially at your caliber. You respect their time. They spend a lot of money on this. You spend, a lot of time in the gym, cooking their meals. It's a 24/7 sport. And if you're not giving the athlete that consideration, you shouldn't be coaching because it's just rude at your level. What boggles my mind is at least care about your top Olympian, your number one athlete. Give your top athlete what they need to succeed if you don't care about your amateur, which is a terrible thing to do. At least care about your top athlete. If you feel that way, imagine how everyone else feels under you, which I've heard the same thing throughout. I was speaking to your husband. I coached girlfriends before, even for regional shows, and it was the most stressful thing I've ever done. Like coaching a girl for regional show is more stressful than being at the Olympia and coaching a top Olympian. And he's like, I'm fucking stressed out. I don't know what to do. She's asking me
Yeah.
what to do. I don't know what the fuck is what. So like he's making random guesses
Yes.
for you and hoping for the best. It's like, so it's just gambling everywhere. And you guys
Yeah.
doing all this shit. And you're like, well, fuck. You should be able to turn your brain off. My job is easy with you because you don't drive me fucking nuts. And you just trust me.
Yeah.
And there's certain aspects of athletes that are going to make them a lot easier to coach versus very difficult to coach. There's nothing worse for a coach than an athlete who has amazing physical genetics, but their mental capacity is extremely low. They have great physical genetics, not great mental genetics. They're unorganized. You can't trust them. They're missing meals. They're missing training, not telling you, they're lying to you. I had an athlete the other day. It's an Olympian athlete. And I told her I'm going to stop coaching after Olympia because I don't want to coach anymore. I qualified her to the Olympia on our first show together. I've been coaching her for 3 years. She sends me a check-in the other day and crosses off things, like 10 things. Any of this for the last week. Why? Because I'm fat.
Oh no.
I said, you
Huh?
look amazing. Oh, I just feel fat. Based on what? I mean, this is the 50th time we've had this conversation. Imagine coaching that level of athlete, like an Olympian athlete that's doing random things and not following what I'm telling you. I made you pro and I qualified the Olympia on your pro debut. Are we missing something here? Have I failed? Trust me, at least. It's just like there's no trust and for no reason. Oh, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. We've had this conversation 50 times. You're wasting my time. I'd rather spend my time coaching youth, putting my time and energy into you or an amateur athlete that's really eager to turn pro than an Olympian. I don't care if you're a top 5 Olympian. If you're not coachable, you're a waste of my time. You're a waste of my energy. I want to spend my energy on people that I enjoy coaching. I've learned this in coaching. When you start off, you got to eat shit. You got to deal with some assholes. You got to deal with some people who are jerks to you. At this level, it's like, if I don't like you, here's a refund. Bye-bye. But I did that maybe 2-3 times a year to athletes that I really don't enjoy coaching. Another scenario was I was coaching an athlete who wants to turn pro and she had pro potential for sure. I was coaching her. She was looking pretty good. And on show day, I fucked up her peak. She was just so flat. I was scratching my head. I'm like, I don't understand why she's so flat. I had control over the whole situation. What did I do wrong? So I'm going back on my data, looking what we did in peak week, and something doesn't add up. I'm trying to figure out why is she flat every show day? Is it something she's doing? Is it something I'm doing? I try to take the blame because I'm like, let me problem solve for yourself. And then she keeps telling me, oh, you make me flat every show day, whatever, and just being rude to me. At a certain point, I was just like, you know what? I don't want to work with you anymore because your demeanor with me is not respectful. So I told her, here's a refund. I'm not working with you anymore. That's it. And I find out 2 months later that she's telling people she was eating random foods and giving herself cheat meals throughout the prep while I was coaching her. She would just follow my peak week plan. From my perspective, I think that X amount of food is working. She's full of X amount of food. She's looking good every day and she's giving herself refeeds. To my knowledge, she's not. So what I'm doing is working. If I knew that she was eating refeeds, I would have implemented them myself. She never communicated. She just did these things and didn't tell me. So I assume that what I'm doing is working. And then 3 days out, I'm just going to follow what you're telling me to do now because we're in peak week. And then she's flat because she's eating 1/3 of the amount of food she's eating before. She just wasn't telling me this information. And then she's gaslighting me saying, hey, I'm flat every show day because you're
Yeah.
eating 1/3 of the amount of food that you're supposed to be eating. I cannot stand that because I put so much time and energy into every single athlete. Why are you paying a coach if you think you know more? And it was funny, I was talking to Issa about this. I had never had a top Olympian join my team and not give me full trust. Like you, Evie, Issa, I have a whole bunch. And they're all like, yeah, no problem. Yes, sir. Yes, coach. Do. And then the ones that always do these type of things where they're not honest, they think they know more than you, they think they can coach themselves, are ones that turn pro or qualified to Olympia quickly. They think they were able to qualify to become a pro, be an Olympian so fast that they're just better and they know it because they got there themselves. They build an ego. They're like, well, I think this is actually better for my body. You were an amateur 12 months ago. Now you're Olympian. You tried to turn pro the last 4 years, never did it. I coached you one time, you turned pro, qualified Olympia. Why do you know more than me now? Like, what's going on? And then those athletes, I realize how they are and that they think they know more than me. It's not a good use of my time because go coach yourself. Why are you paying me? It doesn't work. And the athletes that do the best with me are the ones that are exactly like you. You know,
Mhm.
obviously you can ask me questions. You can ask why I'm doing things. You can communicate with me, but don't say, no, I'm not doing this, and don't lie to me or do things behind my back and be like, hey, I'm gonna eat hamburgers. How am I gonna peak you?
Yep.
Doesn't make any
Exactly.
sense because I don't know what you're doing. Those type of athletes are not worth my time. I don't care if they pay me $10,000 a month. Here's a refund. To get to that point, this decision never comes quickly. I talk to my team about it, like my employees, and I'm like, hey, this athlete's kind of doing this, and I don't really like it. And then I'll warn the athlete, warn them. It takes about 8 to 10 warnings before I'm like, listen, this is just not working for me. And 100% of the time, that athlete never gets anywhere after I stop coaching because the ego kind of just inflates them too much. That athlete is not coachable from any coach because there's a certain point where they always join 3 or 4 coaches after. They're the same problem. The coach says something and the athlete's like, I know my body more. It's funny because 99% of athletes, I would be able to peak them better than they would be able to peak themselves
Okay.
because I have more experience. I have been doing this
Yeah.
every day for
Well,
9
it's
hours.
it's funny that you mentioned a story because when I first started working with you, I was eating a ton of food, especially a lot of fats. There were days where I felt like I was big. I was like, surely I'm fat now. But I was like, you know what? I know you have a plan. I know I probably need it. So I was just not questioning anything. I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. At that
okay,
point,
look for the best. Yeah, literally.
so I'm like, I know you have a plan. I know you have something in mind. I'm just gonna go with it. And I felt uncomfortable because that was the most food I've ever eaten, even like in off season. But it clearly worked. Sometimes you need to be put in those positions where you feel like you're fat. I definitely felt like I
I
was
think
big, but
you felt that way because you were eating like 900 calories. You were in a deficit for so long. You kind of were like, you owe calories to your body. So I just
yeah,
so much to like you're eating 3,000 calories at a certain point with cheat meals
yeah,
to have to fill your body. You were such like in a debt that
yeah,
you just, I hate to, you were on like 20 calories at one point, not gaining weight. And
yeah.
before that, you are 900 calories on 2 hours of cardio. Then I had you at 2,500 with like 10 minutes of cardio and you're not getting weight. So your
Yeah.
body is just like burning through the focus is telling you, hey, I need more food. My plan was to max you out as far as fullness until you start putting on a little bit body fat and then pull back. I knew that you were at a great calorie debt and that I could fill you up to a certain point. I didn't know how much muscle tissue you lost. I feel like you lost a little bit on your glutes from last year because of what happened with the Tampa show and the method used to get to that point. But I was like, listen, I'm going to do my best to try to fill her out as much as I can until I realize that her muscles can't possibly hold any more glycogen. She's maxed out. She starts getting a little bit softer body fat wise, not water wise. And then I'm going to pull back a bit. And that's what I did. We were started at 121 or whatever. And then I got you up to like 132. And then I realized right around 132, you were at like, you started holding a little bit of fat. So I dropped you back down. And then we descended into the floor show that we just did and you won. So, you know, I had a plan and you were kind of like, I'm going to stick with it and do what I'm told to do. And that's the type of person you are. You tell me every day how easy of an athlete you are to coach. You make my life easy because I just have to
Yeah.
do what's in front of me. And it's so simple. You're like, send me a check. And I said, pick this for posing, change the diet. And you're just like, done. The thinking part for an athlete is the most exhausting part because that's all the stress. Where if like you're unsure, you're going on stage, you're like, am I soft? Am I flat? I don't know. My coach doesn't know. So it's like, well, what the fuck was going on? If you don't have to think, your stress level is going to be lower. You're going to look better. You can be more relaxed. I wish someone could just put together my schedule every day and be like, yep, this is where you're going. I can turn off my brain and just be like,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
one way. Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that because usually on show days or show weekends, JD is pretty stressed out this past weekend. He said this was the calmest he's ever felt. I'm like, that's big because usually it's right all over his face.
Yeah.
Like,
She's white trying to go on a stage,
yeah.
risking her
And
career,
like,
how she looks.
he was like, this is the calmest I've been. And I could tell. And I was like,
He was in the audience.
yeah, I was like, this is just crazy. This is a whole new
Yeah.
experience. I'm like, but I appreciated that because we know we're in good hands. It's refreshing.
What like attracted you to hire me as your coach was the second we started talking, you can tell that I already knew what I was going to do with you. And then I was confident with it. I wasn't like, what is your plan after Tampa. You spoke to Paul and he was like, yeah, we're going to do Nashville, then we're going to do this other show and just like, fill you up a little bit. I was like, that is a death sentence for you. You're going to lose to more athletes that are not at the top of the Olympia. And you're going to keep bringing your name down. Every athlete has a stock. And if you start losing a lot, your stock goes down. If you start winning a lot, your stock goes up. And that's going to play at the Olympia, you know? So I was like, do not do these shows. You're not flat. This is a whole redo. You got to fix everything. That would have been a death sentence to you. If you would have continued, you would have done Nashville. Like what
Yeah.
you would have lost to like 15 more girls that were not even Olympians, and you would have been fucked for the Olympia. So I was like, that is the worst possible plan you can do. The problem with that and why he chose to do that plan was because he doesn't know how to decipher the feedback from the judges. As a coach, you need to be able to decipher the feedback from judges. If they say you need to be a little bit fuller, they're not coaches. They don't know what that entails. They don't know if it's muscle loss or just glycogen or water. You need to be a little bit fuller. They don't know how to get you there. It's a coach's job to get you there. For example, Pittsburgh said you need to be a little bit tighter. That's it. Get a little bit tighter. It's up to you. Figure it out. The coach has to be like, this is what we need to do to get you a little bit tighter, but not go overboard where it's not just a tunnel vision and be like, let's get you as lean as we can and drop you down to 110 pounds and hope for the best. At Tampa, he said you need to be a little bit fuller. Yes, but how do you get there? It's not, hey, Ariana, go have a hamburger, do the next show. You look like an amateur bikini athlete. You're not going to be ready in 2 weeks doing the same thing you're doing now. Giving you a liter of water on show day is not going to make you go back to the top Olympian. I remember being backstage and I heard him say to you, you're just a little flat. When I heard that, I was just like, oh, he literally has no idea what he's looking at, because you're not just a little flat. There's a complete disconnect with what is being seen on stage, what the judges are saying, and what to actually do. Let's just say you came into the show a little bit flat. Let's say you showed up at 125, right? And you're a little bit flat, your conditioning was good. And then you would be like, oh yeah, I want to do Nashville in 2 weeks, then maybe gain another pound or two and fill up a little bit. That would have been reasonable. No, you look emaciated and you needed the 5.5 weeks that we did with changing everything to get you back to a point where you're reasonable on stage. That's why I explained to you that plan is a death sentence. I explained what I would do immediately and how obvious it was what we need to do. You put the pieces together in your head and you're like, oh, he's not just saying these things. He actually has a plan and idea for me. And right away, we started day one running. I contacted Toxic Angels, fix this, fix that. I contacted Lebu. Hey, how do we fix this makeup with the PEDS? I already knew what to do based on the information you gave me, and then put it together. And then you had your best physique ever in 5.5 weeks. I am really proud of you for being able to pivot so quickly. You went from your worst to your best in 5.5 weeks, which is insane. I love bringing athletes back from the dead. I love that because it's that I feel like is the ultimate coaching, because it's like you have it's the same body, the same, but all it is a different coaching method that's going to make or break the athlete. I love that because it shows skill. It shows coaching skill. If someone wasn't able to do it, so I'm able to do it. And you show them my method is better, not based on saying it's an evidence-based approach. If you're always doing evidence-based approaches or science-based approaches, but the result is terrible, then what experiment did you succeed at? None. The evidence is that you didn't do well. Why would you keep saying this over and over again? It doesn't make any sense. Your approach should be one that works. If it doesn't work, I don't care what fancy name you call it. It sucks.
Yeah, it was super refreshing. It made me feel like we're back, after that, because earlier this year, it was super hard to be a top 10 Olympian. And then all of a sudden, it's like you go completely backwards. I appreciated your honesty and I needed to hear that because I don't want to keep being told, oh, you look fine. Just fix a couple of things. It's like, no, I need to fix a lot. And sometimes you need somebody to just tell you, this is where we're at. This is what we have to do to fix it. And the fact that you were able to do this in such a short amount of time, you have no idea how much appreciation is there, because I feel like it may have taken longer. This year may have been longer than I anticipated,
Everything happens for a reason, though.
but I'm so happy that I went through this, because your whole experience, your journey in bodybuilding is going to be up and down, all the time.
It's pretty like steady. It shouldn't down.
Yes. No, I hope nobody has to go through that, but it makes you feel more proud of yourself for being able to get through a tough time and still
not
remain
give up.
positive
Yeah.
and not give up and continue to believe in yourself, because you know what you're capable of doing. So Yeah, it's much appreciated to be able to work with you, have to question, so many things or my head or am I doing the right thing, so
It's
it's
the
nice.
same. It's the same concept from like the not have to question where like so you don't have to think for yourself. I don't want to have to guess what an athlete's doing. It's the coaching relationship. You pay the
Yeah.
coach to tell you what to do, and you do it. That's the coaching relationship. And if you have questions, no problem. Don't try to sabotage yourself. You pay a coach that you trust, work with a coach you trust. If you don't trust them, work with someone else you trust. If you don't trust anyone, then you probably don't trust yourself either. The coaching aspect where you were attracted to the way that I coach was, it's the same way as like a girlfriend or a wife. If you have a husband where everything is put together, you can see that they have a good job, values, make good decisions, they're able to lead, and you can turn your brain off as a wife or a girlfriend. If your husband's a loser and he makes bad decisions and he's always late and he's unorganized and you're kind of not sure, you're going to be thinking all the time and go nuts. Girls don't like that. Girls like to trust in a man or a coach or whatever, or someone that they're able to just be like, yeah, everything's going to be fine because I trust their decisions because they trust themselves. If the person you're dating or the person coaching doesn't trust themselves and you can sense that, that's not a good feeling because then if something bad happens, who are you going to go to? You're screwed. You got to trust yourself as a coach, but based off of experience and results and the work that you put in. You can only fake it till you make it for so long, and then you're gonna get exposed. You can say everyone's method is terrible and your method is the best, and but at a certain time, people are gonna see that 1 plus 1
Yeah.
isn't three. So
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, why is this not working? Why are the athletes not doing well? Then there's only a certain amount of time. Let's say you go on a few dates and you see a guy, he has a fancy car, a fancy watch, and this and that, and he's lying to you and he's faking it. There's only so long until you're going to figure that out. Put in the work as a coach, keep learning and get the results you need. And you're not going to have to say all these things and pretend. You just learn, put in the work. And instead of going on podcasts and saying, this is the best method, learn how to peak your top athlete. It's not complicated. That's just my opinion on that situation.
Yeah, I agree. Everything that you've said is spot on. I think I didn't realize peaking was such a big issue until you pointed it out. You were like, this is what you look like during your peak week. And then all of a sudden you showed up to stage like this. Oh,
Couldn't believe it.
this. I couldn't believe it either. I was like, I guess you're kind of right. But I always wondered, why did my glutes look so much better at home before the show? And then I'd get on the show and I look very soft.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You had like full edged in tie-ins before the Olympic
Yeah.
Olympia and in Atlantic Coast. And on stage, we didn't have nearly the same condition. When I realized that every single peak was done incorrectly, it doesn't make any sense. There's so much emphasis on this peaking. If you have to make drastic changes to peak, you did something wrong along the way. It should be very simple and consistent. You glide in smooth like a plane landing. That's it. You gotta land the plane. You don't gotta do flips in the plane. Just smooth landing for bikini. That's where you're gonna get a perfect peak and no stress. It's very different from a bikini athlete to a top bodybuilder where you gotta be 2% body fat. You gotta like manipulate tons of water. You gotta take diuretics. There's a lot of like different factors. If there's a bikini athlete, there's a certain threshold where you can't pass as far as conditioning. And you gotta just cruise in. That's the best way to peak bikini athletes. If you're trying to do all kinds of fancy shit, unfortunately, you're going to be rolling the dice a lot of the time and you're not going to be getting the results that you want.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I felt with this show too. I'm like, we kind of just cruised in. I was like, this just feels like easy. Like
That's how it should feel.
it just feels like
Yes.
like
Peak
we're
week should
here.
be just a chill week. You're cruising in, you're already show ready. You don't got to do 3 hours of cardio because you're like behind. You're ready 2 weeks in advance and you're just kind of landing the plane. Less stress on me because I know you're ready. We just got to do simple things to get you there and get you on show day. Is maintaining is a lot easier than getting to that point. Even after when they get lean, it's a lot easier to maintain it than getting them to that point.
I know what you're
If you
saying.
just landed a plane, right? Your wheels are on the ground and you're just cruising in. The
Yeah.
job is done. You just cruise into the show. So that's how you peak bikini athletes. And if you're doing like going to Chipotle, you go have 7 liters of, oh yeah, you were told, yeah, this was crazy. We didn't even mention this, but at Tampa, right? So you were flat. You were told to drink 4 liters of water between
Yeah.
judging and finals, which was a 2 hour gap between 1:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m.
Yeah.
You're physically not able to fit 4 liters of water in your stomach. And as if that would have done anything besides make you completely watery and softer and look terribly. Would have been no benefit to that at all. It's
Like
insane.
I was like, I'm sorry, I physically can't. Maybe a couple of sips, but I can't do
Probably the one time where I think that was like your
Yeah, that was,
yeah,
and then I
I think
was,
that was a breaking point where you're like, this does not make any sense.
then it was like, eat as many carbs as you can. And I was like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah,
like I,
you didn't tell me that.
yeah, like that was on top of it. And I was like, I physically can't.
You're like, that was the last straw. And you're like, listen, I don't trust anymore. I'm not doing it. I'm going to change coaches. It's not like you're lying to the coach the whole time for months and months.
Yeah.
Now you're
Well,
like, it doesn't make any sense.
yeah, and I knew with you too, when we started working together, you were like, "If you're ready by Battle of the Bodies, we'll do Battle of the Bodies. If not, we're going straight to the Olympia."
That's
Because I
it.
was like, "Okay, I appreciate the fact of, like, if I'm not ready, you're not gonna put me on
I
stage
know.
because the last thing I need is another show where I just don't look good. I need you to be serious with it just as much as I am. Worst case scenario, we don't do it, and then we just go to the Olympia, which
But
obviously,
but it's not, but
yes.
worst thing that would have happened was I put you on stage and you don't win the show. I said, if I put you on for Olympia, you're winning that
Yeah.
show without a
Yeah.
doubt in my mind. I don't care
Yeah.
who shows up, you're winning that show. Book your hotel so we can cancel it. Don't book your
Yeah.
hair and makeup until I tell you we're good to
Yeah.
go. And I think 2 weeks out or 10 days out, I was like, we're good to go. You're winning the show.
Yes.
The deal's done. Doesn't matter who shows up, it's your show. The reason we were able to agree was because we have the same expectations for you. We want you to be at the top of the Olympia. We don't want you to be top 5 in the show. If you would have came second at Battle of Bodies, I would have jumped out the window of the hotel. You know what I mean? That would have been a terrible loss. And then
Yeah.
with a 5th place at Tampa and celebrating like, oh yeah, it's my top 7 Olympia. Just came 5th at Tampa. That's horrible. We should have been riding Issa's ass, pushing her where it was like, oh, I don't know. We were going to contender at that show, which is not
And
anywhere.
you said that resonated with me because I remember the clash last year. Like me and Issa
It
were
looked
going back
good.
and forth just to be standing beside her. And like I'm a top 2 with Issa. Like,
Yes.
yeah. And so I'm like, what's different this year? I shouldn't have looked worse this year. So
Yeah.
when you said that, I was like, yeah, you're right.
If I saw your name on the list, which I did, I was like, this is the only girl I'm worried about for this show. You were the one I was worried about that can maybe be Issa. All the other ones I wasn't worried about. In theory, on paper, you kind of came out of nowhere last year. You looked really good and you were top 10 Olympian. Issa was 5th, so you're kind of close. On paper, you should have been pushing her. You should have been like, maybe even beat her,
Yeah.
So
Right.
in a
Right.
year's time from now, when we'll work together, who knows what's going to happen? You're going to,
Yeah.
in a year's from now, you're going to be a lot of these top girls, like top girls. So
Yeah.
but that's where you should be on paper, and that's what should happen. But unfortunately, that's not how it panned out.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
it's everything happens in life for a reason. As long as you're smart, make good decisions, you make quick decisions when you need to,
Yeah.
and you won't waste more time. You got to cut your losses sometimes. Like if you have a bit, let's say you have 5 McDonald's, and one of them is just bleeding you dry. It's been going this way for 6, 7, 8 months, and you've done everything you can to keep it alive based on your ego. You need to cut your losses when you know that it's time. You're going to be bleeding out more money in your bank account. You're going to be wasting more valuable time, and you got to make quick, good decisions that are beneficial for you in your life when it's the right time. That would have been a disaster. You would have in Nashville and Clash. You would have probably came like 5th or 7th. You would have lost to 12 other girls. Then Olympia, your last call out. Who knows if you're coming back from that? We would have wasted another 3 months.
Yeah.
We would have
Well, I
been
felt a
easily
sense of
fine.
urgency after Tampa. I was like, I just have to move quick. I know something needs to happen. I was
Yeah.
like, something.
Some people
Yeah.
don't have that sense of urgency, and they're like,
Yeah.
look, well, let's just see what happens. You need to be able to, in life, make these decisions where you're like, listen, I got to cut my losses. I've invested time into this. I'm committed to it, but it's not working. I need a change. And, even for you, what I don't like is when athletes join my team and they don't get the results they wanted before, and they don't want to adjust to my approach. It's like, what you were doing wasn't working. Why don't you try something new, which I had success with, why do you want to do something that you've been doing to try to get new results? Doesn't make sense. You're like, I'm going to do everything you tell me to do. I'm going to trust you. And listen, if I fucked you up and you placed 5th at Battle of Boys, looked like shit, if you would have left me, I would have been like, I understand. I fucked it up. But it's like, you gave me, you're top Olympian. I know you say thank you, James, but it's like, thank you for giving me the opportunity. If I fucked that up and wasn't able to do my job as I promised to, then I can't say nothing. It's your life. It's your job. You should be able to leave if you want to, So I would have understood that, but you wanted to make a change. You never said no to me for anything. You wanted to do whatever it took. You knew what you're doing was not working. You were willing to do whatever it took to change and make the adjustments needed to change the course. You were going down.
Yeah.
How do I go back up?
I know it can be better.
You're working an animal and you're the most coachable athlete ever coached. It can't be you. If I ask you to jump, how high? How many times? You're like a blank canvas. I go draw whatever I want, and that's the result. You'll do anything. You know what I'm saying? That's the best type of athlete the coach, because you can mold them the way you want and bring out your vision. It's like you're trying to build a house, where you build the plans, and the workers are going to make it for you exactly how you would imagine it to be. And that's what I feel you are. I picture you in a certain light physique in a certain way, and it's coming to life because you're doing the plan that I put forward. That's where everything comes together, when the coach and the athlete are aligned that way.
Yeah. Well, and it comes down to those little things. I felt so proud of these stage shots this time around, and I usually am not. I noticed the smallest difference that I was wanting to change going into the rest of this year. I want to make sure this doesn't show up on my stage photos. In my back, my right calf, a little ball used to show on my stage photos because I think I had too much pressure on that back leg. And then for these stage photos, it's gone.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm like,
fun.
I know it worked. I have been trying to fix this for the longest time, but I didn't know how. And so just seeing that, I was like, this is great. I feel so
The
happy.
feeling is like when you look at all your stage photos and there's not one that sucks. That's
I
when you know your posing was damn good. Go look at your Tampa stage photos.
I know.
Can you even
Yeah.
find one good one? And
I don't
that's
even know if I have that.
you know what's crazy too is, like, your confidence at Tampa, everyone can tell you were down, because if you
Yeah.
know you're not on and you don't feel your best, people are gonna feel that in your confidence. If you go on stage and you knew that I showed you your back shot, how you look before you're about to go on stage, you're like, that's me. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, Dan, I'm gonna show this off. You had these like
Yeah.
fancy faces on the stage, and you're like, oh, like this. I'm like, go on the stage like you've already won the Olympia. When you came out, you had the confidence, you know you look good, and you're
Yeah.
able to present that. It's a totally different vibe that you're going to have on stage when you look good. Especially your pictures too.
Yeah, I was super happy with them. Just seeing them, I'm like, wow, I actually love them all. Usually, I feel like a majority of girls don't really like their stage photos that much. You see them and they're like, "Ah, I feel like I could have done this better, that better." I was like, I feel so happy. Obviously, there's always room for improvement.
I can't find
Yeah,
one that's like kind of sucks.
I was surprised.
You know why though? Because you're sending me posing routine videos every single
Yeah,
day, and every time you make a fuck up, I'm like, fix this, and then you know
yeah,
what you do? You fix it, and then we go
yeah,
to the next one. James told me to fix this. I write it down. I do the thing until it's
yeah,
fixed, and then it's done.
yeah. Like
I'm
I thought it was taking me a while, and I was like, oh no, he probably thinks I'm not.
oh,
I'm like, I'm this thing, I promise.
that's what I told you countless times. You learn so quickly. You must have been an A student in school. You're like the easiest kid I've ever fought.
Yeah,
People think that you pick up things very fast. I don't have to repeat myself. I'll tell you something and it'll be fixed the next day. You're actually listening to me. Wow. You're paying attention. When you're like a kid aces their tests all the time, you're like, wow, he's actually listening to me.
well, no, there's a lot to learn from you, and I just appreciate it. And again, with posing, you and Victoria have helped me so much, and just like you notice those details, just being with you. If Victoria's not there,
I
and
love the
just like
posing for the yeah.
yes, and just fixing my back pose, the smallest little details, even with my feet and stuff. This is what matters. Just having those small differences has changed my physique entirely.
Lose a lot of points based on posing and not understanding how to pose. So if you're doing all your cardio training and your diet, but you pose poorly, you're not going to
Yeah,
show your best physique on a stage. And people lose a lot of points. Coaches lose a lot of points on that because they don't care enough or they don't know enough to correct these things. And athletes lose a lot of points because they don't put enough effort in practicing. I know I go above and beyond for posing more than any other coach in the world,
yeah,
guaranteed. And I feel like I had the best eye for posing. I think that's one of my best um, attributes as a coach because I like it so much. I really like how such small twists or turns can really make a physique that much better. And you're like, wow, when we finally got your front pose, we went on FaceTime and like, fix this, something's off. And we finally nailed, like, yes, I'm like, this is the pose, save this picture. You know, the same thing with your back pose. I'm like, yes, this is a masterpiece. Like we finally, everything is perfect. Like that's a good feeling, you know?
I was so frustrated at first because I'm like, why is it not looking how I know it should look? I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And then all of a sudden it's just like it clicked. And I was like, okay, like now I get it. So now it feels way easier.
Every day is perfect. You're sending me check-in. I'm like,
Yeah.
not really correcting your posing anymore. Now the only thing we're working is the walk to the back, right? Like
Yes.
that's it.
I'm feeling so much. At first, it felt like so much because I'm like, oh no, like
You
I hope I
have to
get
change
it right.
everything. That's why. And it's like, fix this, fix this, fix this. How many
Right.
things are going to fix? It's a lot, you know?
Yeah. But I know I needed it. Then it boils down to how bad do you want to fix things? How bad do you want to be better? Do you just do it and keep going at it? Or do you just want to be upset and complain?
Or
So it's like,
you can't be discouraged and be like, well, am I this off? Maybe I'm not good enough for
yes.
this. I'm just going to do my best and try to fix all of these things, even though it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And then you'll see what happens. And that's what you did. So I wanted to mention where it's like the difference with the Tampa thing, your previous coach was happy for a top 5. The second you were done prejudging, what did I tell you? We got to fix your walk to the back. I knew you were
Oh,
already going
yeah.
to win. I knew you were going to win. What do we
Yeah.
need to fix for finals? Oh, fix this, fix this. Why else do I think I get great results? Because I don't celebrate very often. Right back to work, right back. If you're happy and content for long periods of time, get back to work. Let's go. Evie, my client from Spain, we won our first show together in Europe. She won, and I said, congratulations. All things she needs to fix. She's like, I'm so sad, coach. You're not happy about the placing. I'm like, oh no, I'm thrilled. We just won the hardest show in Europe all the year. But
Uh-huh.
we're doing the show in 2 weeks and we need to fix this because I want you better. And then she won
Yeah.
the next show, the same thing. But after she won Colombia, the next show, she understood. She's like, oh, he's happy for me, but he wants me to be better. And we go
Yeah.
to Tampa and she's even better. She understands my methods where it's like, I'm happy for you, but how do we get better?
Yes. Right.
Second, I have someone that wins the Olympia. I'm going to congratulate them, but I'm going to say,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, yes, I'm proud of you, but let's fix this. I've never seen after stage where it was like, that was perfect. No, there was something wrong. Every single Olympia winner did something wrong too. Even Jennifer Dory, which won the Olympia, the people were a little bit too wide. And just things like that. Like there's no one on stage is flawless, either from a coaching perspective or from an athlete perspective. We could have posed better or angled better or whatever, like maybe your hair was a little bit fucked up. Maybe you should have fixed the makeup. Where the shadow on your makeup wasn't good. Maybe your hand was covered a little bit. Maybe your hips were pushed a little bit to the front. Maybe your hand was a little bit too high. There's a million different factors that you can fix where you can be incrementally better. That's going to make a big difference. And that's how you continue to improve. Don't celebrate for too long. Get back to work. And it's what we got back to work right away. Should have called it, but
Yes.
next.
Well, and the Olympia is the main goal. So it's just like, okay, we can celebrate. I'm so excited because this is what we needed. But I know I still have work until the Olympia and I need to make sure I can be way better than I was last year at the Olympia. So that's the ultimate.
When I first started working with you, I was like, I don't know if we're gonna get you back to where you were at Olympia. I was like,
Yeah.
we'll try, but you were in a situation. We have 8 weeks. I'll do my best, but I didn't promise you anything. But now I know you're going to be your best at Olympia, which is pretty crazy. That's why I'm so excited for next year. We worked together for 6 weeks. I imagine we have 52 weeks. It's going to be ridiculous. The RE train's coming full steam and people are going out of the way next year. There's going to be no slowing down.
That's what I've been looking forward to.
It's like
I know that's
yeah. And if they don't, they're going to get a big wake up call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're coming.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
It's inevitable, but we need more time. Will you be your best? Yeah, yes. I still want to grow. Another question. What do you believe to get into the top 5 and just eventually win the Bikini Olympia? Your structure is unbelievable. And the way you lean down is unbelievable too. When you lean down, your waist gets tight. You have no traction in your quads. You have no traction in your hands. Your lines are as good as they can possibly be for bikini. You lean down exactly where you should lean down. And I'm not fighting for Issa too. Her physique is amazing, but I'm always kind of fighting a little bit like her quads are a little bit too lean. So I'm trying to battle with that. Other athletes, they have like, maybe if you try to get your hamstrings too lean, then their shoulders get too tight and you're battling with that. With you, it's like you lean down exactly where you should. Everything kind of comes into place. I want to bring you in bigger and a little bit tighter. If I bring you a little bit tighter, then you're going to be a little bit flatter. If I bring you a little bit fuller, then you're going to be a little bit softer. We need to add 3 or 4 pounds of muscle on you, specifically your quad super in the front pose. Your symmetry is already amazing, but I'm trying to look at your body like a puzzle piece where everything flows together. I want to have a little bit more roundness in your quad in the front pose. And I want to have those glutes popping out like 2 pumpkins there. You know what I mean? Not too big, but just dense and round. And if I get you to that point where we're adding the amount of muscle mass, which we will by next year, I'll be able to bring you in a little bit flatter where you're perfect conditioning, but you're still going to look big and round and full based on your genetics and your round muscle bellies and your thick skin. Can I do that in 4 weeks Olympia? No, I'll be able to do that next year. Yes, exactly. I don't want to grow your upper body. I want to have the muscle mass, your quads and your glutes, and then we're going to be able to bring you in a little bit tighter and you're still going to be full. That's where you're going to be dead on and you're going to be killing everyone. That's what Ari needs to do to get into the top 5. Ari could literally win this year. She'd be in the top 10. I almost think it's guaranteed she's going to be in the top 10. She's not going to be very surprised, but it's like, I don't know where to place Ari. She's going to be better than last year at Olympia. So it's like, where do you place her? I don't know. Could she win this year? Yes. Is she going to be a big contender next year? Next year is going to be another story. Next year is like very, I think you'll win probably 1, 2, 3 years latest, like max. And when you do win, you're going to be hard to beat because your symmetry is so damn good. Like Becky at their last show, the thing with Ari is she's just like perfect symmetry. They want you to match from top to bottom, back to front. When you look at you, you don't want anything to stand out. You don't want anything to look too small or too big. You want everything to flow perfectly. And that takes meticulous work. It doesn't just happen. It's like making small adjustments here and there until everything is perfect and you just maintain it. Now, your shoulders are used to training, your back are used to training, things like that. And we have 2 quad days where we're incorporating quad on a second day to train that muscle group more, to kind of fill it out a little bit more. And you're same with your glutes. So it's like you're playing with your body until you're perfect. And then you kind of even things out. It's like an art piece. And you're just trying to make everything kind of perfect as best as you can. And you're like, don't touch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We got to leave it alone, put it in a shadow box. But yeah,
Exactly. And try to maintain it.
that's what I like though, because then it's like, I know you have a plan and I think it's an awesome plan. Just let me know what I need to do. I like that. We have a vision and I know we can get there. And I know that next year it's just going to be even more awesome than it is this year. Not that this year isn't awesome.
It's going to be next year.
Yeah. So I'm just excited to be working with you and to go into the Olympia this year with you.
You're so sweet. I want to adopt you as my child. Ari is such an innocent, sweet girl. If Ari doesn't like you, I think something's wrong with that because you're such a sweet person. So let's ask her some more questions because we kind of didn't really answer any questions.
Yeah.
How do you get a tiny waist?
So I feel like I didn't realize my waist was so tiny until I got lean for the first time. I have a naturally small waist, but then I've also started wearing my waist trainer more, especially for cardio purposes and training.
Since you joined my team?
Since I joined with you, before I would just wear it with cardio because it activated my lower back a little bit more, but now I wear it more with my training and cardio and throughout the day. I noticed that even throughout the day, I'll activate my lower back a little bit more and it'll inflame my erectors. Wearing waist trainer has helped me. I know it's not for everybody, but for me personally, it has. Doing vacuums and LPF too, started doing that more. Will help give you more core control on stage, help give you that illusion of a smaller waist. So those are the things that have helped me.
Teacher that's working with Isa Bashini for 8 years, and she's from Brazil and works with all my athletes. It's so important to have ab control on stage. If you can't control your belly and you're breathing out of your belly is going to look big on stage. It's all about ab control and being able to keep your stomach in the whole time. It's hard to keep your stomach in when you're walking, doing a presentation, doing comparisons. Like, if you haven't practiced, your belly is going to be out on the stage. It's not a natural thing to do. It's something you need to prepare for. And that's something that I told you, got to get on right away. Like, we got on that right away. I'm like, all right, your waist is not great. We got to get on this right away. Also, obviously, genetics play a huge role, but also the peaking thing too. Like, you have a small waist. You just were bloated on show day every day because of the general evidence-based approach of giving you tons of water and food when you didn't eat it.
And what's funny is actually for the clash, when I was going up against Issa last year, I noticed I was having a hard time keeping my core tight. For whatever reason, I couldn't contract. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. I just couldn't hold it in. It felt like I was forcing myself. And I was like, that's not a good feeling to have.
You had too much food or water on show day?
Maybe. I don't know what it was, but I just felt like I couldn't hold it in. I haven't had that issue since then, but I was like, it's the weirdest thing.
The more you work with Karina on your vacuum, the more you're going to have like impeccable ab control.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like second nature on stage. Imagine, try to do vacuums and stuff fasted versus before bed.
Yeah.
Your belly is going to be easier to control when you don't have tons of water and food in it.
Before I ever competed, I held a lot of body fat in my waist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I even look back at some of my videos. My first posing session I ever had in person with a lady here that was local. My waist was like,
I want to see that.
Oh gosh, don't show anyone. I'll show you, but don't show anyone. Not yet. Not yet. We'll do a transformation at some point.
Your waist and your back rolls is ridiculous. It's like, that's genetics, honestly.
The waist trainer and vacuums, LPF, all that stuff has helped. So that's what I recommend.
Someone said your thoughts on measurements, body fat percentage, and weight versus visual body composition. What are the judges looking at on stage? Do they ask your body fat percentage? Do they take the calipers out and pinch you? None of these things necessarily matter. The only thing I go by is weight. That is a very good tool to have. For example, Ari, we were competing at 128 all last year. You should have been that, if not a little bit more, when you got your breast augmentation. Without even looking at Ari's body, right? And you say she's at 121 on a show, which was 128 all last year. Something is wrong. Without even looking at the body, something is wrong. If Jennifer Dory is competing all year at 124, and next show she comes in at 114, something is wrong. Plus, they're maxed out. They're averaging maybe like 0.5 to 1.5 pound increments. I'm sure you track Ashley's weight every show. There's not more than 2 pound difference from the last 5 years. So the scale is a very useful tool. And that's why I tell my athletes, bring your scale to the damn show. because I had the visual right advantage, and then I had the advantage like compared the weight and the body. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Sometimes an athlete, when you're trying to peak them, flat can look watery from spill. This can look like two of the same things. My client Maxine, her flat looks like she does when she's spilled in watery. I know she looks the best around 127. If she's at 124, she's a little bit too flat. If she's at 130, she's a little bit too watery, but they both look almost the same. Then you know where to bring them in the middle. That's a very useful tool. I don't care about measurements like, oh, your glutes measure 44 or your neck measures 70. I don't care because it doesn't mean anything to me. Everyone's had different hip bone structures. There's no set criteria where you walk into an MRI machine on show day and they're like, yep, perfect measurements. It makes them different. Also,
Mhm.
your body fat. There's 17,000 different ways. 95% of them are inaccurate. I look at you, I can gauge where your body fat is within 1% just because I have so much experience doing it based on visually and thousands of athletes I've done. I can guess your weight within 3 pounds. You show me their physique, I can guess your weight. I don't care if you're 150, 250, 94 pounds. I can guess within 2 or 3 pounds maximum any girl right that because it's all I do all day is I look at bodies and I see their weight and see how they look. So it's very easy for me to gauge. So I don't think like measurements and body fat percentages really useful because they're not really necessary or accurate. I like the weight as a good tool. I like the visual appearance, which is the most important. So
Mhm.
increasing cardio, how effective is it? And at what point is it excessive? It's excessive when you start regressing. Let's say you have an athlete on 900 calories and they're on 2 hours of cardio and they somehow start gaining weight. If the physique starts regressing and you're not achieving your goals, for example, with Ari, right? Like her feedback from Pittsburgh was get tighter. She's doing all that cardio. She's not getting tighter. She's looking flatter and the tines are looking the exact same condition. Something is wrong. You need to adjust. But if you're pushing cardio and low food and progressing, a lot of athletes are going to have to do that. They're progressing and getting leaner and not losing too much muscle mass or all that's where everything's going correctly. But there should have been a point where we were dieting down for Tampa where we should have been like, whoa, 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 you're way too low now. Let's reassess and figure out something is wrong. Something was wrong way before peak week in Tampa. It was wrong probably 6, 8 weeks before Tampa, where it's like weight was way too low and you weren't getting in condition. So this is the coach's job to gauge that point, and it's your job to trust them to make the adjustment where they think. Were you able to raise her calories so high? Her body needed it. Her body was burning through it. I had her on 2,500 calories at one point and she wasn't gaining weight. So what that means that your body's finally relaxing and it's trusting you that you're going to be giving them more food. Your body's a furnace and you're giving it coal. All right, we're going to burn. We're going to burn because you're giving me more. The second you stop, the first going to kind of cool down and be like, whoa, 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 what's going on? And that's what happened with you. Your body, you were on such low calories for a long period of time with high cardio. Your body wasn't losing anymore and you weren't progressing. It's like, well, I'm not going to be burning any more fat because I don't trust you to give me more food. The second I started feeding you, more your body started trusting you. Okay, then finally found a resource for food and they're keep feeding me. So that's why your body's burning. I wanted your weight to go up. I don't want you to maintain all 24. So I had to push you. We're at 3,000 calories. Have a hamburger today. I wanted your weight to go up to really fill you out until a certain point where I couldn't fill you out anymore. So that's what I had to do with her. For Lauderdale, we started I think 1,100 calories with me or 900 or something. And then we went up to like 3,000 and dying down. I went from like 3,000 down to like 27, 24, 21, 19 to drop quickly. And then I don't know where we ended, probably like 18 or something. It depends on the day, but we went all in different ranges and everything kind of went exactly how I imagined it. What is the plan for Ari's last week's league up to Olympia? She's basically stage ready. She'll be stage conditioned again next like 2 or 3 days. She's right around like 129 this morning. I really want her weight to go up and to maintain her conditioning because that means she's adding muscle mass. I want her to be fuller in her quads and glutes. If we're able to get her on stage with perfect conditioning at 129, we're going to be gold because that means like you added like some decent amount of muscle mass and we're able to maintain conditioning. You know that you gain muscle mass if your conditioning is the same and you're heavier. That's just you gain muscle mass. If your conditioning is worse and you're lighter, you lost muscle mass, right? So, or if your conditioning is the same and you're lighter, then you lost muscle mass as well. I want to really pack on as much muscle as I can in the quads and the glutes and then throw up on stage with the wolves and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
What was the feedback from Janet's show? We're told that was the best they've ever seen her and just keep doing what we're doing. So, which is what I like to hear.
Yes.
What have you found to be the biggest differences between James and other coaches you've had in the past?
I haven't worked with a ton of coaches. When I was an amateur, I had one coach, my husband's coach at the time. He was a bodybuilding coach. I only did 2 shows, took 3 years off, and I came back last year. I worked with my previous coach, and working with him in comparison to James is like night and day. Everything is different. Everything is unmatched. The detail is here. If you want to be the best at something, or if you want to be better in something, you need to be working with somebody that has details and structure up here. That will
Passion too. And the same goal as you.
exactly. Exactly, because that's what's gonna set you apart. You wanna be with somebody you can learn from and can teach you these things, and I feel like I can get that from you, and I feel like a lot of people can. You deliver results. Your work speaks for itself. You have consistency. You take this very seriously.
I joke around. I'm stupid sometimes, but I get all business.
You get to business mode, like, you switch right away, and you're just like, "Okay, let's focus. Let's do this." I'm like, "Yep, let's do it." I need that, and I feel like a lot of athletes, they need that. It may seem like a lot of work, but guess what?
It
It's a
is.
lot of work.
Never told an athlete, yeah, don't worry, you're not gonna have to work that hard. No, I'm gonna make
Yeah,
you work
no.
your ass off, but I'm also gonna bring you out of your best.
But that's the thing, and that's what people have asked me, and I'm like, "Yeah, he's gonna make you work, but it's gonna be worth it. If you wanna be your best on stage, you're gonna have to put work in and effort." Nobody said this was easy.
I'm not a coach where it's gonna be easy. I'm gonna tell you what to do and you can just do it, but
Yes.
I'm gonna push you into uncomfortable situations where you're gonna need to make changes. You're going to need to practice. You're going to need to do things that I'm telling you to do. And if you don't, I'm going to get pretty annoyed. Like, why isn't this front pose fixed? I told you 20 times to fix it. Are you practicing? Are you writing it down? If I send you instructions to fix this pose and the next 10 seconds, it's wrong again, why haven't you written this down? Watch the video I've sent you. Looked at the pictures I've sent you. Why are you not doing the things required to fix it? Why am I have to repeat myself 10 times? You're making me work more for nothing. Make my job easier by doing the work, and you're going to be able to go into the next step. It's a step-by-step situation. If you can't get step 1 done and you don't know how to fix your front pose, how are we going to work on transitions and this and that? You know what I mean? It's a step-by-step process. Put in the work, and I've never told an athlete, it's going to be easy. You don't got to work harder. I'm going to make you work your ass off,
Yeah.
but you're going to be proud of yourself and be your best ever. That's something I can guarantee you. I know that the things I'm making you do are going to get you to your goal and where you want to be. I'm not doing things based on luck or hoping for the best. I've already done all the trial and errors to know what to do in 9% of situations, and the 1% I'm still learning. But most scenarios, I know what I'm doing. I still make mistakes. Everyone does. You need to do the work and do what I'm telling you to do, and the results are going to be the best that they possibly can for your physique, for sure.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
do you work with only bikini athletes? I've made pros in every single category except open bodybuilding. I've had top 6 of the Olympian wellness. Wellness is very similar to bikini. I'm really good with posing. So it's just a difference in genetics, PD usage, and workout split. At a certain point, wellness girls don't train upper body anymore because they max out really quickly because the PDs they're taking. And then you're just kind of training lower body, trying to increase the size of your glutes. And you want asymmetry. You want your lower body to be bigger than your upper body. If you understand the posing, I could coach girl with amazing genetics to win the Wellness Olympia, I'm sure. Because I understand the posing. I'm very good with the PDs. I understand how the bodies work. I made 3 or 4 girls pro in wellness, but I've only coached 3 or 4 girls in wellness. Every single wellness group I've ever coached, I think from pro except for 1.
Wow.
I had one girl that joined my team. She had me to Olympia before. We won our 2 pro shows together. She won Miami and Puerto Rico. And then she played 6th at Olympia, her first Olympia together. And then I stopped working with her. That's another story. But yeah, I would take a really good wellness girl. I don't like coaching men because I know I could coach men for lifestyle, but I know that there's people that are better than me at coaching
Mhm.
bodybuilders and men because they've had more experience. So it's like I can coach a man to be pro, but I know someone can do a better job because it's like I spend all my time on women, right? I've made pros in figure too. I can do that as well. But I'm just saying, if I knew that someone could do a better job than me, I tell them there's a better coach out there for you, and I'll recommend someone else. It's like if a wellness show comes to me like, hey, I want to win the Wellness Olympia, I can bring them there because I know what to do. I only take on things where the athlete can have confidence in me because I have confidence in myself. You know what I mean? Picking a guy, I'm pretty good, but I'm not the best. There's situations
Yep.
where I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to do. I don't do 99% of the time. You know, it's
Being aware of that and just being honest,
important. Yes.
that's respectable.
I don't like wasting people's time in my when people don't respect my time, that pisses me off more than anything. If Samson or Derek or Hardy came to me like, coach me for the Olympia, I'd be like, no, because I don't want that pressure because I don't know, like, I can probably maybe make you the same or good. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I know if a girl comes to me and like, hey, Can you coach her bikini? I know that I will bring them better than anyone else in the world because I trust myself based on my experience and my results. I don't know if I can do the same for a guy because I haven't coached male bodybuilders for the last 9 years, 16 hours a day. I've done that for bikini though in other women categories, but I don't have that experience or trust in myself. So why am I going to put myself out there and do that? I'd rather focus on one niche. I can do bikini and wellness and really give everything, learn everything about it, learn all the intricate details, learn every small thing with posing, talk to the judges, learn every pro show, and then be the best at that instead of being mediocre at a few things. If you're coaching 10 different categories, you're not going to be the best at any of them. For example, Hani Rambod coaches open bodybuilding and classic physique, like the men. You don't see Hani Rambod coaching bikini athletes.
Oh,
I would destroy him in coaching bikini athletes, but he would destroy me coaching bodybuilders because he has
right.
20 years of experience. So you need to have that understanding with yourself and not lie to yourself. And don't fuck over athletes too. Like people are putting their health on the line, their time, their money. You need to have that perception of yourself and reality. What is the difference between Ari and other bikini athletes you coach? Genetic wise, obviously she's great, but just like how quickly she learns. I love that. I tell her something, I don't have to repeat myself 20 times. I know she's going to take it, write it down, and just do it. Like I tell her, fix your back pose and get it to me later today. I'm going to get that video and it's going to be better because she applies what I'm telling her to do. I don't let her repeat myself 20 times. She doesn't ask me stupid questions. I don't even know if you ever asked me a question.
Hey, I don't think I have because you explain everything so detailed to me that like,
And I was telling you today, I'm like, I don't think Ari's asked me one question. But you know what? Because you have common sense, right? And you're able to read. When I say something, you read. Like you don't have to guess yourself, second guess yourself because you're smart too. But if you're asking me stupid questions all the time, it's like, I thought they already told you this 10 times.
yeah, right.
Like that drives me nuts. I spent 20 hours and $2,000 for this document for you. Read it for me. I would say 95% of my athletes right now are great because I choose what I coach now. I get 20, 30 inquiries every day. Why am I going to coach an athlete I don't like? I never turn anyone down based on genetics. If someone's willing to work and they're able to afford it, then I'll coach them. But I don't like athletes that I kind of trust, don't work hard, and they're kind of like unreliable or unorganized, or I got to repeat myself. I got to repeat myself one time, so wasting my time and your time. And I don't like that. What is your current training split? What is your training split right now? I can pull it up there.
I think we have glutes, delts, quads, and
Wait,
tries.
glutes on day one, right?
And then we have hamstrings, back and biceps, glutes and calves, quads, and then one off day.
Yeah. So we're training 6 days a week, right? We're training quads on 2 days. One is a full day of quads and one is like a 2 or 3 exercises of quads.
Yep. We added that last minute before the last show.
I asked you, are you recovering enough after your first quad days a lot? I was like, can you handle more? You're like, yeah, I feel like I'm recovering. So I'm like, let's put a bit more in it. And she told me, no, I'm sore for quads for an entire week after. I'd be like, okay, we don't have to put more because you're probably getting the most out of your training. But I'm like, you're like, no, I can take more. I'm like, all right, we're going to put in some more. And your quads like growing for sure. So at one point I was like, fuck, your quads too big or something. But yeah, if the athlete's not recovering properly and they're actually training, because I now know you're training hard. I'm not just going to make you train quads 5 days a week. I got to ask for the feedback and how you're responding to the first day. So what's the difference between your PD protocol before and now? I changed everything. I said, stop everything you're doing. I'm changing everything you're doing. And you're going to see how quickly your body's going to adapt to it and be in a much better state. You're not taking more than you were taking before. You're taking different things and definitely more healthy approach. Like we're not fucking with certain things and you don't have any side effects at all, right? None. I was like, nope, no side effects at all, which is great. And yeah, I think that was that. That's all 17 questions, Ari. We're way past Ari's bedtime now. She's in bed by like,
I know.
yeah.
We're doing a fun podcast.
Do you have anything else to add before we get off here?
I just want to say that for anybody listening, don't feel afraid to make choices for yourself that are going to better yourself and your future. Always be respectful in everything and go about it the best way you can, but maintain faith in yourself. Surround yourself with really good people that support you and believe in you, and don't be afraid to take risks too.
You make me cry.
It's easy to give up. Just know that people are still in your corner no matter what. And people want to see you do well, no matter the struggle you go through.
You should be a motivational speaker. That was amazing.
You think?
That was very good.
Maybe one day.
Such a genuine person that I feel that people are going to really get a lot out of this podcast and learn a lot of things too, because maybe they're experiencing very similar situations. We have 10, 15,000 people watch this podcast and a lot of girls are gonna be like, oh shit, maybe that's actually what happened to me in my show. Oh, that's why that doesn't add up. You're 7th place in the world last year and you're going to win the Olympia one day soon. I'm sure of it. I think your insight is very valuable, and to come from your situation where you were almost at the verge of like, is my career done? It looks like it's not going well to like, oh no, we're actually coming back in and we're going to fight for the top spot at the Olympia. That's a very big perspective that you can share your experience on.
Mhm.
I appreciate
Yeah.
you coming on at such short notice.
Thank you for having me and letting me share my story.
Anytime, sweetie. All right. I'll see you in 5 o'clock in the morning for a check in.
Yes, sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Bye.